Run it. I can't take no loss. I don't even know what it costs. I hit the ground, then it go off. Yeah, hit the ground, then it go off. Yeah, I can't take no loss. I don't even know what it costs. Yeah, I hit the ground, then it go off. Yeah, hit the ground, then it go off.
Brings you in.
Yeah.
Well, not when we're here. He puts it in after the fact.
I do it in post.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll start just on music.
Mm-hmm.
Let me push one button here to make sure that I got you in focus.
Testing 1, 2. Testing 1, 2.
Just hit that. Hit that one. Hit the one. Hit the one.
You have beta connection. Oh.
Kendra wants to connect.
I was like,
Maybe we'll start with that.
okay.
Are you recording?
We're rolling, so whenever you're ready.
All right. Let's hit it, man. Let's get to work.
Oh man, yeah. And you can add this all in. Don't edit anything out. Just keep it going. We all grew up together, and this is how we usually are. Tuesday, January 21st, 2025. My partner, Paulie Brapson, off tonight sick. And Paul said to me, he said, whatever you do, you better not cancel. Paul was adamant about that. He didn't want to cancel. So.
That's where you bring in the big lefty. The big lefty's coming in sprinting from the bullpen.
Can I say something? I'm disappointed Paul's not here.
Well, I figured you guys would be. That's why I waited till I got here to say he wasn't coming, because I didn't want to give you a chance to opt out.
You were ready for us to bail.
No, I was. I really was, because I was like, oh, now Paul, because you guys know the familiarity breeds contempt. That's how,
yes.
The three of us, of course. Josh, it's good to see you again. It's been a while. Our last podcast, I think we did in September, because I was out of the country in October running for my life.
I know.
Yeah. Anyways, long story. That's for another podcast.
Just a thorn.
Unbelievable. Anyways, we're here, and we were supposed to have my nephew, King Solomon Josiah Petrie, who took Hoban to a state title in golf. He's now on scholarship at the University of Kentucky. He was supposed to be live via satellite. Of course, Saul's busy. I mean, he's always being pulled away for something. I mean, when you're at that level, you know, and for him, the expectations are huge. I always give him grief. I say, you better make it. You broke your father. Your father is broke from this game.
People counting on
just let me say, he wants to do the podcast, but as a D1 athlete, he's got a lot of obligations,
right?
You know, and it just didn't work out. But he did. I actually was on the phone with him when the courtesy car picked me up tonight. I want to thank the podcast for sending the courtesy car.
That's what we do.
Sponsored by Buick.
But no, Saul, I was telling Saul, you know, we were on our way over here, and he did mention he still wants to do it.
Yeah, well, you know, me and Saul have been going at it since he was a kid. Like, we have our own little Petrie family gamesmanship going on. Like, he's been on SportsCenter, and I'm like, well, you ain't been on no billboards. And he's yeah, but you ain't won a state championship in nothing. And I'm like, well, and you ain't been on the Beacon Journal 9 times on the front page. I'll tell him, I say, you've been in the Beacon Journal a lot more than I have, but you get the back page, I get the front page.
Yeah, and the humility is just unbelievable in your family.
Listen, no, it is what it is. Me and Ben spent tons of hours with my late father, Jeffrey Lee Petrie, and Larry Sawyers. And so we were raised by two titans, right? And we got the shit talking to us from the time we were little. My dad gave it to me brutally when North Carolina beat Georgetown. Michael Jordan, Patrick Ewing, I cried. So we took that early and often as kids. Anyways, so we were here to talk to Saul. King couldn't be here. So now what we're going to do tonight is thank you to Jason Lee Hance for stepping in, because he's like an uncle to Saul. And my kid brother, Benjamin Isaac Petrie, we're going to talk to him a little bit about what it's like to raise a prodigy. So first things first, Saul was 4 years old when he was on SportsCenter, correct?
Yes.
But before that, he was on the front page of the Beacon Journal.
Well, I mean, if you want to go back to...
Yeah, because we're going back. Let me just start here. How did Saul, because the Petries, we didn't do golf. The only golf we ever saw is inside the Kuntz's house. When we'd go to Mikey and Davey Kuntz's house, and their dad would be watching golf, and we'd be like, what's he doing? It was so foreign to us, right? So how did Saul get started in the game of golf? Let's ask that. And let me just add this. Let me preface by saying this. Solomon Petrie, on scholarship, University of Kentucky, he's got a year or two left?
He's a redshirt sophomore.
Okay, so this kid's been on SportsCenter since he was little. He was front in the Beacon Journal front page since he was a kid. Having his picture taken with guys like Lou Holtz, speaking at places like, was it St. V that he spoke? Was it at St. V?
No, he spoke at Firestone Country Club.
The Firestone Country Club over the First Tee.
First Tee.
Yeah, Frank Stamms and company?
Yes.
Yeah. So this kid, from the time he was little, has had what appears to be almost, Ben's married to an African-American woman. Saul has that, you know, kind of tigerish kind of look about him, mixed kid, you know. So early and often, from the time he was little, of course, the pride of my dad, Jeffrey Lee Petrie, Dad loved to watch him play golf. He's just been a big deal for our family and a big deal for Northeast Ohio. King Solomon Josiah Petrie, I dubbed him with the name King, of course, from the time he was little. Let's start there, Ben. How did this all get started?
So as you mentioned, golf wasn't our thing. You know, grew up in the neighborhood with all the guys. We were football, baseball, basketball. Thought golf was stupid, and our father loved it. Okay, and every time he'd be watching golf, I'd come up to him in the living room and I'd start mocking him. I'm like, golf's stupid. This shit is. Can I cuss?
Yes, yeah. It's all the person podcast. You say whatever you want.
So I'll try to make this quick. So it was the 2000 PGA Championship. And I'm over at the house, and my dad's watching it, of course, and it was that epic Sunday final round between Tiger Woods and Bob May. They both had separated themselves from the field, and I'm sitting there watching it. And as a sports fan, I just remember the crowd. And it happened to be at Valhalla in Kentucky, of all places. So I think that's ironic that Solomon's not
Of course,
the
this
university.
is pre-Saul. Saul's not born
So
at this point.
this is in 2000.
Yeah.
This is in August of 2000. And it came down to the 18th hole, and Bob May made an unbelievable putt, which forced Tiger to make, I don't know how long of a putt. It might have been an 8 to 10 footer that Tiger needed to make. And I remember the shot of the view from the camera behind the green, looking back towards the fairway. There were thousands of people. Tiger Woods makes this putt, and I'm sitting there, and I'm captivated. I'm like, this shit is fucking amazing.
Wow.
And then they go into a 3-hole playoff, and that's the iconic when Tiger walked the putt in.
Yep.
And I think it was the second playoff hole, and he walked it in, pointing at it.
Wearing Sunday red.
Yes.
Yeah.
So from that moment, I was like, holy shit, man, this shit's fucking amazing, you know? And so fast forward to Solomon, his birth.
February 2004, right? February 2004.
Yes, and I actually, another great moment I watched with my dad was Arturo Gatti, Mickey Ward fight, the first fight. I was in tears at the end of the fight. I wanted to name Solomon Arturo.
Wow.
And Michelle was like, you know, we're not Italian, you know, but Arturo Gatti embodies he was the toughest son of a bitch. My all-time favorite athlete.
Yeah.
So anyways, we settled on Solomon, and from an early age, you know, he showed rapid development. He was walking at the age of eight and a half months old.
That's early for a boy.
Yeah, and so we get into the time frame of when he was 2.5, 3 years old. No, it was about 2.5. Whenever Tiger was on in a major, I was watching it. I didn't golf. I didn't golf at the time. And Solomon would stop in the house, and he would pick up we had a wooden back scratcher, and he'd look at the TV, and he'd start swinging. He goes, I want to do that. And So I was like,
How old is he at this point?
He's around 3. He was 3. It was the summer of 07.
I'm trying to take that in context because I have a 3-year-old, so I'm trying to see him at this age saying that.
Solomon wasn't.
And he's walking, right?
Yes, he's walking.
Solomon was not your average 3-year-old. At the age of 4, he sat down and watched Field of Dreams with me, the entire movie.
Wow.
Every time we got home in the summers, from the time he was 2.5 to 8, 9, we had to watch the Indians every night. He would sit down. He didn't watch cartoons. It was all sports. So anyways, he said he wants to do that. So I was like, okay, whatever. I went down to Dick's and Sporting Goods, and they had little Walter Hagen drivers. I don't know nothing about golf, so all I knew was how to hold the club. And actually, Joel, shout out to Dirty.
Joel Matos.
I met Joel in 2006 at my job. He's another uncle of Solomon's now.
Right, your best friend, actually.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Joel had taken me golfing once or twice, and it's hard. Jay's a pretty good golfer. It's a hard fucking game. So anyways, I take him down. I get this driver. I get some golf balls. I take him down to this park I would always take him to. And all I knew about golf was the interlocking grip. So I just showed him how to hold the club. And I would, just started teeing balls up. And before he swung the club, I would say, let me see your hands. And he'd lift the club up. And I swear within 30 minutes, I didn't even have to tell him to show me his hands.
Yeah.
Boom. From the very first ball he hit, it was dead straight. I mean, his hand-eye coordination at the age of 3 was stupid. It was absolutely stupid. And I remember calling Joel, and I was like, buddy, we struck gold. And he goes, what do you mean? I said, you should see Solomon hit a golf ball. I said, it is fucking crazy.
This park in Fairlawn, what was the name of it?
Krogan,
okay. Yeah.
So the next Sunday, this is July 2007, the next Sunday, Joel came down for 6.5 hours in the middle of this park, in the middle of the field, while all these kids were on the playground and, on the swings and sliding board. I sat there and teed ball after ball up, and Joel stayed out there and just kept shagging balls for 6.5 hours.
And he was driving them straight?
He was driving them straight 30, 40 yards as a 3-year-old.
Right.
And he had a violent swing. But at that age, I was like, this kid's got something. And not only just the golf, we would have people at the park that we became friends with. Baseball, at the age of 3, I'm throwing overhand to him. I bought him a little wooden bat, not one of those big plastic bats and a big plastic ball.
Yeah.
And I was pitching overhand tennis balls to him, and this kid's fucking nailing. People would stop and be like, how old is this kid? And they would ask his name. So his hand-eye coordination, his athleticism from an early age was incredible. But the golf was something that I was like, this is unique. And one, he's biracial. You don't see a lot of black golfers.
Kids,
You just don't. And that's kind of, the rest is history. And then the articles started coming down. I never pushed him out into the public.
Let me ask you that directly so people can follow this. How did that first article, the front page of the Beacon, come about when he 3 or 4 years old?
4 years old, I started taking him to Good Park. Mud Run and Good Park were the 2 golf courses I first took him to. And there was a guy that worked for Ohio.com, essentially the Beacon Journal. He golfed there every night. He later told me, he said the first time he saw me with Solomon, he's like, oh my God, there's one of these guys, this little kid. He said the first time he saw Solomon hit the ball, he was like, holy shit.
Wow.
So he talked to the sports editor at the Beacon Journal and said, you got to do a story on this kid. So that's how the first article happened. And then the next year, in 2009, and I got to backtrack because that first article, the Beacon Journal asked for video clips. And so I sent a bunch of videos. I had a little camcorder. And somebody attached that to SportsIllustrated.com. And I start I still have this saved on my cell phone. I got a message from Simon Carpenter from Sky Sports News in London.
Wow.
Wanting me, asking for my permission to use the article in the clips, and wanting me to come on and talk about my 4-year-old son. And I'll never forget Tim Widener texted me that in 2008, and he goes, dude, do you know you can Google your son's name?
Wow.
And I was like, and people were writing shit all over. There was a UK blogger that wrote an article on him that said the next Tiger Woods with a question mark.
Wow.
And I was like, holy shit. But I ended up doing like a 12 to 15 minute interview in a parking lot with Sky Sports News in London on a live television show, talking about my 4-year-old son. And it was crazy, dude. But the next year, David Lee Morgan contacted me. He did a book with Jim Tressel, wrote a book on LeBron James, real well-known reporter in the Akron area. He came out and did another article. So everything that he's, any attention he's gotten, I've never been one of those self-seeking dads like pushing my son out and saying, hey, look at.
The guy that saw you the first time, was he thinking that? Oh, this is one of those dads that thinks his son's going to be the next.
I don't know if he thought that. Look, golfers don't want to be held up, especially at Good Park at night. You got the twilight rate. They just want to. They want to get as many holes in as they can. So they see me with this little black kid, and he's like,
come on.
And he said the first time he saw him hit the ball, he was like, holy fuck. Like, so that's kind of how all of that developed. And then obviously the tournament golf started at the age of 5. He's been playing tournament golf since the age of 5.
Well, and with that,
Hans, before you go any farther, Ben just mentioned Jim Tressel. Shout out to the Buckeyes, because I wanted to say that first before we even started. Ohio State, think about this as kids. The Buckeyes were a big deal to all of us. So it matters that they won last night. So I came with my Jim Tressel gear tonight. Am I looking okay?
You're looking okay.
Okay. I wanted to look presentable. Okay. All right, Hans.
No, I just think I find it, when you tell that type of story like that, and that type of, you can kind of see that a lot of people have to understand that in the golf community, just real quick, I golfed with a guy this past summer that was from Defiance, Ohio in Columbus. And as we're sitting there golfing, this past summer, and I mentioned to him about, oh, yeah, man, like a buddy of mine, his boy was Solomon Petrie, and he went, I know exactly who Solomon is. So and that guy's in Defiance, Ohio, that's in Columbus. His son's a sophomore in high school right now. So that golf community is very tight-knit, but it's got a lot of tentacles out there to where it goes a lot of places.
For sure.
So when you have a person just out of nowhere that knows who Solomon is, that tells you that he's in that upper echelon when it comes to golf. Saul sent me some things. So just to give you a little idea, so he has 17 career medalist honors in high school at Hoban. He holds 8 school records, including the lowest score on a par 70 and a par 71. He won Worlds in 2017 at age 13. He was runner-up at Worlds in 2018 and 2020. And then he was also the 2022 Summit Am champ. Okay? All this before the age of 21?
Yeah.
So before the age of 21, which brings me to that World's Championship. So at age 13, tell us a little bit about, that whole idea of going down to Pinehurst. That's God's golf heaven there when you go down to Pinehurst.
Pinehurst is, for anybody watching, and I'm sure the Nielsen ratings are going to be pretty high for this.
Well,
they're either going to be high or they're going to tank. I don't know.
The 30 for 30 that ESPN will do about King eventually,
absolutely.
They're going to be showing what you say here.
So I gotta preface this story with when Solomon first started playing tournament golf. I lost my fucking mind. Okay, because I knew nothing about golf. I've got all these people telling me how good he is. He's the next Tiger Woods. And I was way too hard on him at too early of an age.
Yeah.
I can attest to that. Golfing with him, yes.
Yeah, Jay saw it, but I always, one thing raising Solomon is he knew I loved him. I swear, man, every night, like every day, we'd be sitting in the house. He'd be 2.5, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and I would tell him I'd say, come over here and give your dad a hug. And I'd just give him a hug, and I'd say, I love my son. And I did this throughout the day, every day, to the point where Solomon leaves the house as a almost soon to be 21-year-old, he gives us hugs before he leaves the house.
Wow.
And tells us he loves us. So he knew, as hard as I was on him, he knew I loved him, but I was way too hard on him. But fast forwarding back to 2017, going down to Pinehurst, we had been down there multiple times, every year since he was 5. He had some success early on, and then from like, I'd say 2013, 14, 15, he didn't perform well down there.
Speaking of
Especially
every summer,
16.
it became an annual trip.
It was every summer. It was every summer. And then in 2017, he started to notice that he was playing better.
Now, real quick, when you're go down there to Pinehurst, these are actually kids from all over the world, not the United States.
Right.
These are kids, 10, 11, 12, 13-year-old kids from all over the world.
That's a great interjection because that can be intimidating.
Yes. So now you're now paired with possibly the best 13-year-old in Japan.
Right.
Is what you could be paired with.
The boy that he ended up ultimately beating, the boy that finished in second place was from English boy from Dubai, lived in Dubai. But I'll backtrack to 2016 at Good Park. Now that Solomon's older, it got to the point where I told Saul, I said, I don't care if you golf. I said, but if you're gonna do it, you're gonna do it the right way.
He's 12 at this point.
In 2016, yes, he's 12. So we're at Good Park with Joel, and he's just half-assing it, and I fucking blew a gasket. Cussed him out, and I basically cussed him off the golf course. And he picks up his clubs, walks back to the clubhouse, and Joel looks at me, and he goes, buddy, that was pretty brutal. And I was like, I don't fucking care. I said, he's old enough now to where I'm not forcing him to golf. If he wants to golf, he's going to do it the right way. I'm not going to tolerate just going through the motions when you have that much talent. And then there was another occasion in June of 2017 where I cussed him out on the ride home for his just shitty attitude on the golf course. It wasn't poor play. It was just a shitty attitude. And so we go to July of 2017 and going down to Pinehurst. This is Worlds, U.S. Kids Worlds, and he said he's going to win it. And I'm sitting there thinking, dude, I didn't tell him this. I'm like, let's just get a top 20, man. And long story short, he's leading after the first round, has a better second round. He's got like a 2 or 3 shot lead, and I'm like, holy shit, man, we're in the final group in a world championship, and
you're his caddy. Right?
I'm his caddy. I've been on his bag for some of the biggest moments of his career, and one of the cool things about caddying is you're playing a part in the outcome. Ultimately, it's the player that's hitting the shots. But when a caddy and a player have a good working relationship, which Saul and I do, the player at times leans on the caddy a lot. And there was a situation, final round in 2017, just coming off his second bogey, so he's 2 over. He's lost the lead. He hits his tee shot up against a pine tree in the left rough, and we're walking down, and I'm thinking, I'm sweating. It's fucking hot as shit.
Yeah.
North Carolina heat in August. And
Coach Steve Colt would say the wheels were coming off at that point.
The wheels were coming off.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to just talk him through the next shot. Now, his next shot, he didn't have shit, man. His ball was up against a thin pine tree, tall pine tree. He had no shot. And long story short, I'm talking him through what he needs to do.
And are you choosing the club too?
At that time, I believe I did, but I can't even mimic the stance he had. I don't even know how he advanced the ball to the fairway, but he did. And I was like, great shot. I gave him the rangefinder. I said, go get your number. I take his club, put it in the bag. I start walking up. I say, you got your number? He said, yeah. And he goes, give me my 56. So I pull out the 56. And now the other two boys in the final group, they're out of position. And Solomon hits a wedge from 96, 98 yards to 3 feet. So now he's got a 3.5 footer, little downhill. And the other two boys walk away with bogey. And I'm like, holy shit, we've got a chance to save par. So everybody's off the green. Solomon's standing over his putt, and I'm holding the flag stick. And
what hole is this again?
This was hole 8 of the final round.
Okay, so he still has another 9 after.
Yes.
9.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I can't, even to this day when I caddy, I can't watch the short putts. I can't. It's so I'm holding the flag stick, and I've got my back to Solomon, and I'm just listening to hear the putter club face hit the ball, and then I hear the ball go in the hole, and I'm like, I turned around, and everybody's behind me, and I like fucking, I'm storming at him, and I'm going, fuck yeah, and I slam the pin back into the cup.
When you're saying that to him, and this is for youth, are there referees? I mean, I'm not a golfer. I'm asking. I'm out of ignorance.
No, I'm not yelling. I'm not yelling.
Are there officials saying that? Yeah, you can't talk like that around the kid?
There's nobody around that. This is only something that he would have heard. Everybody.
Okay.
I'm not yelling it. I'm just going fuck yeah, fuck yeah. And then he's all amped up, and he's telling me what he's gonna do, and I was like, dude, calm the fuck down, man. And long story short, he ends up birdieing, I think, 2 of his last. You know what? I'm gonna get that wrong, but he had 3 or 4 birdies coming down the stretch, one of which came on 18 to win a world championship, and I'm like, that was incredible. Like, walking off the green, I'm like, holy shit, did he just do this? You know, and so like I got choked up. That was special.
That's
man.
really when you become on the scene. Like I remember when that happened, how in Northeast Ohio everyone was talking about it.
Yeah.
The Beacon posted about it, right?
Yeah.
The Beacon Journal. I mean, that's when he finally arrived, nationally and internationally, even, right? At that point.
Right.
And how old is he at that point?
13.
13. Okay.
13. But yeah, that like I said, that dynamic between player and caddy. And he'll tell you he does, and I'm not giving myself credit, but he does not win that world championship if I'm not caddying.
Yeah.
And this goes out to a lot of the caddies, even on the professional tour, that play such a huge role in the outcome that the average fan doesn't see.
Right.
If you don't understand golf, and I've learned a lot about golf. Solomon's coach, Larry Mansky, at the age of 7, I didn't understand the dynamics of the golf swing, and I needed a trained professional. And so Larry was very instrumental in Saul's success.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that's what's important too, that a lot of people don't realize. I was on the bag at Westfield.
Yes.
In an and that was an AM, right?
That was the Ohio Open.
Yeah, the Ohio
Yes.
Open. So I was on the bag for Solomon.
A long day.
It was a long day. Long day.
Yeah, that was one of the days I couldn't. Thank God I wasn't
Yes.
caddying.
Yeah. So
Are you like Ben at all with Saul? Are you giving it to him or getting on him?
No, I have a different approach with Saul.
Because you coach a lot of young people.
Yeah, and so
Well, hold on. I'm not at this point now. When I caddy,
Yeah.
I don't say shit to Saul.
Okay.
It's nothing but positive.
Yeah, he's of age.
He's at that age
well,
where
yeah, and he knows what he's hitting. He knows what he needs. He knows what he needs to do. So, like, a lot of my thing, like when I caddied for him, and granted, it was a day to where, you start and then we get interrupted with rain. So you got to go back to the clubhouse, and then we walk all the way back out. We mark our ball. We start again.
Miserable day.
It was a miserable day. But just in that short amount of time that I was with him that day, it was more along the lines like the approach I took with him was, I'm going to be positive, I'm going to be upbeat, but I'm going to, whatever you think is going to be good, here, get your number, hit it flush. Let's see what we can get out of this, and then let's forget it, move to the next one. So that was always kind of like my mentality with Saul.
Yeah.
And he's got a disposition to where I think he can Saul's got a different disposition to where he can learn from that, where he's getting chewed out. There's not a lot that phases him.
Yeah.
The one thing that I see with him in golfing myself is golf is like, I remember you telling me that there was a guy that he golfed with. He was from Australia. It was Jason Day's caddy.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
that was at the U.S. Open qualifier.
Yeah, and
that was phenomenal.
One thing that he said that he told Solomon about that that maturity levels just has to get, and it's not like he's immature. It's when you play golf long enough, you start to have a little bit more short-term memory.
Yeah.
And realize that it can turn around real quick or it could go real bad real quick.
Yeah.
And that's where, like, we've had those conversations with, this is not getting burnt. Shout out to number 29 from Notre Dame that just got dusted with
Jeremiah.
yes, Jeremiah Smith with that long 3rd and 11. No, it's not like a corner to where you get burnt and you got the athletic ability to catch up and do that. Golf is different to where, okay, one mistake can compound to another mistake, can compound another mistake. The next thing you know, you're not making the cut and you're going home day 2.
Yeah.
So that's where I think golf is such a mental grind.
Right.
And when you're in that mentality, so that's what I wanted to ask you. So this kind of laid the foundation that from Worlds. So that kind of laid that foundation. Tell us a little bit about when he made the U.S. Open.
The USAM.
USAM.
That was probably my all-time favorite moment on his bag.
How old is he at this point?
This was summer of 2023.
Okay, so just a year and a half, 2 years ago. Huh?
So the USAM qualifier up to that point was a 36-hole one-day qualifier. So you played 18 in the morning, 18 in the afternoon. It was at Moraine Country Club in Dayton, Ohio, which if anybody gets a chance to play Moraine, it is fucking phenomenal. One of my favorite courses. But we started on the back 9 in our morning round, hole 10. And Solomon starts off with a 4-putt double bogey. Okay, and that's not the way you want to start a qualifier. And so he's amped, he's pissed, but like I said, I'm at the point now where it's just nothing but positive words. I'm just there to pick out hand clubs or give him advice. There's times where he really relies on me in club selection, and when he pulls off the shot on a club that I pulled, there's no better feeling for me.
Yeah.
But he ends up he's 5 over through 9 holes, okay? And I think the leader at the time was 6 under. So we're fucking fading fast, man. He had just lost a ball off the tee, had to go back and re-tee and walk 300 yards. And he's teetering, man. And I was like, dude, there's plenty of fucking golf. And I wish Saul and I were mic'd up during a round. It'd be fucking great. Great
theater.
Oh, yeah. It would be great. So we make the turn to the front 9, and he starts to find a spark, and he ended up making 3 birdies to get to 2 over for the morning round. And by the end of that morning round, he started driving the ball well. So
now to put that in perspective for those of you out there that don't golf, that is the equivalent of Steph Curry making 3 threes in a row.
Okay.
Now all of a sudden you find yourself, you're like, my God, we can't let him get the ball in his hands.
Right.
Because Uncle Mo's with him.
Uncle Mo's a problem.
Is a problem. So that's where when you start feeling that, you're like, okay, man, I'm kind of feeling the ball hit flush. I'm feeling it pretty good. I'm hitting putts. I'm feeling really good.
And as the caddy, I see this. And so we start we had like 45-minute turnaround. So we start on the front 9 for the afternoon round, and we still are in a hole. He's got to make fucking birdies. So we get to, I think, and my memory's failing me right now, but I want to say he birdied 1 or 2 of the first 3 holes of the afternoon round. I can't recall, but he's starting to find a rhythm.
Yeah.
And we get to hole 4. Hole 4 was a par 5, and a tight par 5, OB left, shit on the right, and we laid up in the morning round on this hole with an iron off the tee on a par 5. And we walked off the 3rd green, and we're walking up to the tee box, and he's not looking at me, and I got his bag, I set it down, and I pulled driver. And he turns to me, and he sees driver in my hand, and I said, fucking send it. He fucking pipes it up the hill over probably 320, ends up making birdie. And then late in the afternoon, it's starting to get late in the day, and you've got live scoring, so he can check on his phone what he needs to do.
Is the Golf Channel there filming?
No.
That wasn't at that level?
No. Well, the USAM's the biggest amateur event in the world, but this was the qualifier to get into the USAM.
Okay.
So we've got like 5 holes to go, and he knows what he has to do. And he ends up birdieing 3 out of those last 4 holes. And on 18, he had to make birdie. And he pushes his tee shot into the right rough on 18. And we get up there, and we're talking over club selection, and he says, I'm going to have to run a 7-iron. So ball coming out of the rough, you're not going to get any spin. You're going to get a lot more release. So he knew he had to land it short, we're a bit short of the green, and let it run up there, chase up there. And he pulled the shot off, and now he's got 10 to 12 feet for birdie that he has to make. And his teammate, Alex Goff, who's just a tremendous player, he's standing there watching, because if Saul misses this, he's going to qualify for the USAM. And Saul gets up there, and Saul says to me, before he putts, he goes, man, I told you. We're walking around trying to qualify for the biggest amateur event in the world. And he goes, I told you, Tom Brady, 4th quarter, Tom Brady. This is what he's saying to me.
That's awesome.
And I get chills thinking of it. And I'm like, now those 10 to 12 to 15 footers I can watch. It's just those little tap-ins.
Is he wearing red like Tiger?
No. He doesn't.
No? Okay.
Hell no.
Okay.
That's Tiger's thing, man.
Yeah.
But anyways,
Saul wears no hat, though.
He wears no hat.
He wears no hat.
Stopped wearing a hat in like 2022 or something. But anyways, he rolls in this 10 to 12 footer for birdie, and man, he yelled, let a big fist pump. Forget what he yelled, and I look over at Alex, and Alex, he's got that look like, fuck.
Yeah.
So they go into a playoff hole. We go to hole 10, and it's just 2 players for 1 spot. And I'm thinking, I'm on the tee box, and I'm like, how fucking cool is this, man? I'm caddying for a chance to go to the U.S. Amateur at Cherry Hills, of all places.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is fucking great. I've had a great life. I could die today. I could die tonight, and I've had an amazing life. The experiences that we've had, what golf has brought to us, and the places we've been. But anyways, Solomon, first playoff hole, he hits his tee shot into the fairway bunker. And this is the same hole he 4-putted double to open up the entire qualifier in the morning. And Alex is in good position in the fairway, and I think Saul had 196 or something into the flag, and he had I want to say 5 or 6 iron, pured the shit out of this fairway bunker. Now he's put the pressure on Alex, because Saul's got like 10 to 15 feet for birdie, and Alex hits a good wedge into the green, but Saul's away. And Saul rolls this in for birdie. And I'm like, holy fuck, man. I'm like, this kid is on fucking fire. And Alex, I was expecting Alex to make the putt. And when he missed it, I was just like, what? We just qualified for the U.S. Amateur, the United States fucking Amateur in Cherry Hills. And so we shake hands, and I felt bad for Alex.
Is Alex's father caddying for him?
No.
Okay.
No. Actually, one of his teammates, Dav, and hopefully Dav sees this, one of the coolest dudes. Dav's a great dude. Dav was caddying for Alex at the time. But we walk off the green, and I fucking just started weeping. Like, I broke down, and it was like, that was the greatest, I think the greatest moment I've ever had, because until you've actually, like, you know, not to be cliche or sound cliche, but until you've been in the arena and you know how fucking hard it is to in a field like that to qualify for the biggest amateur event in the world. And I started just fucking bawling, and we're walking back down the fairway back towards the clubhouse, and there was a guy named Mike from Akron that played in this qualifier, and so he was obviously good enough to, you know, good player in his own right. But he came up to me and he said, "Hey, I'm Mike. I played in the Summit Am, and I'm from Akron." And he saw me crying. He was like, "Let it out, man." He goes, "That's fucking awesome."
What state was that in?
This is in Ohio. It was down in Dayton.
It was played in Ohio?
It was down in Dayton, yeah.
Did it oftentimes, like, especially when he was little at Pinehurst, did it feel like it was a father-son against another father-son? Because other dads were caddying?
Oh, man.
Did you feel that at all? Because to me, that's what it would be like almost. Because really, you're like a team. The caddy and the whoever's golfing, it's kind of almost a team sport in that regard, right?
Without a doubt. But no, it never, even locally, and I'll tell you, Northeast Ohio has produced some fucking studs.
Yeah.
Some fucking studs. And I will say this, Topher Reed is one of Solomon's best friends.
Yeah.
And you won't meet a better dude than Topher. And anytime Saul has had success, like big time success in a tournament, Topher's the first dude to call Saul.
Yeah.
And if you would think Topher just qualified himself. Topher, and I'll never forget Topher called. Topher was the first dude that called Saul after we qualified for the US Am, and but yeah, Northeast Ohio has produced some fucking studs.
Yeah.
Big time players, man. But no, it's never down at Worlds, you got your psychotic dads that really were fucking crazy.
Yeah.
I kept my stuff when I was real hard on Saul at an real young age. I wasn't, like I said, I was too hard too early, but you should see some of these guys down like when you get international golfers, they're fucking crazy. Some of them can be fucking crazy.
I love Nolan Haynes. I just like his demeanor. I like what he can get worked up. I love that.
I love talking shit to Nolan.
Yeah,
I talk a lot of shit.
I like Nolan's dad too.
Yeah,
he's a cool guy.
Now with so that takes us through I mentioned a lot about his high school career. So we talked a little bit about his high school career. So let's talk about a little bit here on what the recruiting process. And because I know a lot of us talk about, like, we watch Ohio State play. We see, with Barberton, they have students that come through, and Tony Gatto talks about, scholarship for football and basketball and different things like that with Coach Hazard, which he's had on before. But so let's talk about the golf side of recruitment and kind of how that came to fruition with Saul.
Can you go back pre-Hoban, right? Is that what we're trying to do? Because I wanted to bring up Hoban's coach and get into a little bit about that now that you're saying that.
Okay.
I don't know if you're talking about the Kentucky thing.
Or you're just talking about college recruiting.
I'm talking about college recruiting.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm talking about college recruiting.
No, the recruiting process, COVID kind of screwed everybody in Saul's class. I mean, it
did a lot of people.
I mean, it was unfortunate, but when the recruiting window opened, going into Saul, I can't even remember if it was going into his junior year, senior year, but it was the summer of one of those years when coaches could start contacting players and started fielding a lot of calls. Rutgers. Coach Schutte, I think that's how you pronounce his last name. Fucking love that dude. Rutgers was big on Saul. That was a fun dialogue that we had with him and his assistant coach.
Did you guys visit there?
No. Saul actually played out at the the AJGA polo match play, like top 32 in Rolex rankings in 2021, and thank God he didn't choose Rutgers because that's a shitty fucking drive. And, we're staying in Jersey City, man.
Yeah.
Like, Liberty National is a cool place because you can see the Statue of Liberty. You can see the skyline of Manhattan. It's, like, right there, beautiful golf course. But the city where, the Jersey, it's just, it's something that the drive sucks.
Yeah.
But you had a bunch of other schools that we talked to.
Interestingly enough, I don't think Saul wanted to go to Ohio State.
No.
That's
No.
interesting.
Yeah.
Because we're Buckeyes.
Yeah, I mean he had reasons, that I'll leave at the table.
It's all the
but-
pressure podcast, baby. Come on.
And that's the thing too, to where when you look at it and you start looking at this recruiting process, a lot of times people go, well, we want to fit or we want to see something that fits us well, but then you have to take in consideration that, is that coach going to be there for the long haul?
Right.
Is this something that kind of fits my personality or, and things like that? With golf, it's not, oh, hey, man, like I see that corner's going to the NFL, so I'm going to come in as a corner and I'm going to compete, or that D lineman is, I'm too deep in the D line. Golf is like you have 5, possibly 6 that's playing on a team of 14. You have a number to post. If that number is not what it is, you don't travel.
Right.
So that's where that competitive nature not only goes with who you're playing against, but who you are playing on the same team with.
Right.
So now you got to be competitive with who you're playing against on your own team.
Yeah.
So I think that kind of goes into what I think is pretty remarkable. But then also just kind of seeing, so like how did Kentucky kind of come into the picture?
Through a close friend who knew the head coach at Kentucky at the time,
Okay.
and that started a dialogue with Brian Craig, and that Kentucky was the only SEC school that was going to offer Saul a scholarship, and the SEC is the premier athletic conference, top to bottom. It is the best conference in college sports.
Yeah, for sure.
And golf-wise, they just added Texas and Oklahoma to powerhouse golf programs.
Yeah.
So the SEC is fucking loaded. The talent, and I'm not talking any other sport, I'm just talking golf. The SEC is fucking loaded, man. So Saul wanted to play in the SEC. He wanted to play in the best conference against the best competition. That's kind of when they offered.
I wanted to ask you
accepted.
something real quick, and let's just talk because we're going to be limited on time. Hoban, that whole situation in Hoban. How did he end up going to Hoban? Because I know there were several schools he could have gone to in his high school career, and how did that play out? And I don't remember Hoban's coach's name, but
Quinn Parker.
Quinn,
Quinn. I told Quinn from day one when Saul was a freshman, I said, he's your player. I said, you need to put it, when he's on your team, if you need to put a foot up his ass, you got my permission.
Yeah.
But no, as far as that, he had a couple of friends on the team. Quinn was trying to build that program. He was trying to run it like a college program. And Saul was kind of the first big piece that after Saul went to Hoban, like kind of the dominoes just started to fall.
His freshman year, they went to state, right?
They went to state all 4 years.
Yeah, all 4 years. And they hadn't been to state since what? Was it 92?
91, 92.
Something like that?
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Now they're a powerhouse. They just won their second state championship this year.
Yeah.
Quinn, I tell you, I love Quinn Parker. Yeah. Quinn was, he was a good dude, man. Good coach. And,
didn't they add on like a golf indoor facility there?
They built it.
I always tell King they should name that after him because basically, listen. His presence mattered, like him showing up there and everything that transpired from the time he was a freshman to a senior and the numbers he posted. I mean, You know, that's that's some Petrie gamesmanship.
Hoban's got some tremendous alumni, tremendous donors, a lot of money.
Yeah.
That facility was coming
regardless, with or without King.
I believe so. Quinn's done a really good job at Hoban, man. Like people don't see what I don't think he gets enough credit for what he's done.
Well, and I think too, like, because we're seeing this now in high school sports. There are, and you know, and I've talked to Tim about this with his son going through soccer. You know, when these kids don't even have to play high school soccer because they're playing so much, soccer, whether it be Premier or whatever they're playing, kind of like the AAU of soccer.
Exactly.
To where they're not even playing high school soccer and they're getting full ride scholarships.
Right.
The golf is somewhat of that to where.
Oh yeah, you wouldn't even have to. Saul, none of these guys.
Yeah, but I think that's kind of a testament on kind of like with friendships and things that they make when they're playing all these tournaments, to where. That's where, in those type of things, where Saul would go, yeah, man, I've been playing with Nolan, or I've been playing with Voiko, or I've been playing with, Topher since I've been 6 years old.
Yeah.
I've been playing with these guys.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you can build those relationships, and then all of a sudden when high school comes, they start looking around and going, man, I know I live in, Medina, but I know Saul's going to Hoban, and I want to play with Saul all 4 years.
Right.
Or, so I think that's another thing, too, to where golf's a little bit, and I mean, I think eventually we're going to get into all sports are going to be like that.
Pulling the LeBron.
I mean, he was ahead of his time. He was ahead of his time.
So how much time do we have?
We got about 10 minutes left.
Okay, I want to say this, I don't, before we want to run out of time, this is All the Pressure podcast,
yes,
right?
Yes.
All the pressure.
So
Benjamin Isaac, Bip.
They call me Bip on the golf course.
Yes.
I'm a grinder, man.
He's a grinder. I can attest to it. I tell you, he's a hard out.
I do have a major.
You guys are still garbage.
But
Big up,
I do have a hole in one. I do, stock hybrid.
Well,
Stock hybrid. He did see my second hole in one.
Hey, hold that thought. Listen,
I did.
For all the kids watching this too, because I know we thought golf was for kids that weren't athletes, right? Until you see guys like Michael Jeffrey Jordan and Steph Curry telling you golf is the greatest game on the planet and the hardest game on the planet, then you're like, okay, that can change your mind.
Hockey players are some of the best golfers. All these professional athletes gravitate to golf. But I have to say this, in America, the last decade, especially with the news. The endless news cycle about race and just racism and all this shit going on in America. I will say, as Saul is a black kid growing up in Northeast Ohio, he didn't have to face what all the Charlie Siffords and the Tiger Woods faced when he was going to these country clubs. Everyone in Northeast Ohio, white, black, and the majority white, at these golf courses, but a lot of black folks that worked at these courses, man, they treated Saul like fucking royalty, man. I'd take them to Turkey Foot, the folks at Turkey Foot. Good Park.
I've gotten free golf there because of Saul.
No, man.
But you'd have to say that credit to Tiger for that. Tiger changed the game.
Tiger changed the game, but all those black professional golfers, what they faced back in the 40s and 50s and 60s, fucking horrible.
Right.
And Tiger, even in the 80s, he's my age. Yeah. Even in the 80s and early 90s, the shit he had to deal with. I just thank God that we never had to experience that.
Right.
And I thank everybody in Northeast Ohio at all these golf courses, white and black, that took care of Saul. Yeah. From the time he started playing at a golf course at the age of 4, these folks took care of him. Why do
you guys think, both of you golf, why do you think it is that white America attached themselves to Tiger Woods? What was different about him? Was it his passion?
I think it was. I think when somebody comes along like that is so high and above, like I think these people realize, like, I mean, I don't think like somebody like Scotty Scheffler gets a lot of credit, but people don't really realize how difficult it is to not only be as good as Scotty Scheffler, but I mean, that's on a whole nother level. Like what Tiger did in that time frame in the 90s, and it just is phenomenal. But then, like, you take those records. I'm a huge Jack fan.
Yeah,
But
Nicklaus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you take those records and you put it to Jack Nicklaus, and you're like, my God, that guy was doing it with no.
Persimmons.
And Jack still has the most majors.
Yeah. And then that guy
Incredible.
was doing it with wood clubs, hitting it 320 yards. And it was just like, you look at him and you go, like, there has been so many good golfers, but like they just don't understand. Like the normal person watching golf goes, oh yeah, man, I can do that. And then they go out on Saturday and they shoot a 120.
Yeah.
No offense.
I'm not that bad. I'm not. I go. My low's an 86.
Oh, that's right.
But no, as far as Tiger, I mean, he
Yeah.
he looked different.
Yeah.
And he was so fucking dominant.
Yeah, he was.
Like,
There was a
the
time
shit
where it
he-
was just
that
people
he's-
feared going against him.
Yeah.
That was what it is.
Solomon is golfing, we started the show off with this, and I get to ask this all the time. How did Saul start golfing? My dad, Tiger Woods, and Bob May. That's
Yeah.
it. That's why he's golfing. If it weren't for those three guys, Solomon's probably not at Kentucky golfing.
That is something too, where Tiger changed the narrative in the sense that when those golf crowds explode,
Oh,
Yes.
that's goosebumps,
Yeah.
dude. Isn't it something?
Yeah.
To see kids and their dads, and everyone's just going nuts.
And that's the whole thing too. What we have to understand with these student athletes, like they see somebody that looks like them. So all of a sudden they can relate now. They can relate and go, okay, that person looks like me. That person, I can act like him. I can do. We did we did the same thing when we were kids. When we go out in the backyard, we play backyard football and we roll the towels up. I just thought about that the other night when we were texting. We'd roll that towel up and put it behind, and I was Alvin Walton. I was Alvin Walton laying the wood to people.
Ronnie Lott.
I was Ronnie Lott. So like you did that, like every batting stance we did, we emulated, Will the Thrill and Don Mattingly and all them. So I think it's that whole concept of like, you see the dominance, you see people cheer for them, and you go, I want to do that. That's what I want to do.
yeah. There's nothing like that though. When there's
Yeah.
a golf crowd on the 18th hole.
Oh, nothing like it.
Whatever. I mean, that what Ben was just explaining is that passion, that energy from Tiger Woods is why Solomon's golfing.
Right.
That's
Right.
And he got to meet Tiger, right? Didn't he get to meet Tiger?
No, not personally.
Not personally?
I mean,
Okay.
he saw him play at Firestone, but
Yeah.
didn't
Well,
get to meet
golf
him.
has given you guys an avenue where you've got to meet a lot of people. Otherwise,
my God.
you guys had
We're
your pictures taken
we're
with Lou
travel-
Holtz,
oh,
Coach
yeah.
Lou Holtz.
We're traveling all over the world, man. Or not
Yeah.
all over the world, excuse me, all over the United States.
Yeah.
We've been all over the place. My summers, I don't work much in the summers. I'm on his bag.
Yeah.
And I gotta say this: the Ohio Am this year. It was the second round, some of the worst weather we played in, and the highlight of my 2024 is at the end of the second round when Saul shot 5 under in some of the worst weather. He came up to me twice and he said, "Good job on the bag with club selection." Dude, that's when you're like, I'm in the fucking arena with him.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
this club that I picked out that led to an eagle. That could have ultimately led to a
Well,
championship.
this is all the Pressure Podcast, and I want to say this to guys like Paul Howe, Ryan Mulrick, Jeff Chalmers. When Saul won that world title, I don't think he ever touched the trophy. I think Ben had it. Ben still has it, right? I think it's in your showcase.
That's it. I took the flag on 18.
Oh, you took the flag.
Yeah, I
Okay,
took the flag.
okay. Because we were giving you a lot of grief about that because you had pictures of holding that thing like Michael Jordan's first
I was
championship.
posing. I was going to be on the floor crying. No, it's been cool, man. It's been there's that a father-son relationship. I love Saul
Yeah.
more than anything.
I've
in
told
my
you.
life, man.
I've told Ben before, Jason, that sometimes I would watch him and Saul from afar and be envious of that relationship because I put Mo and Spart in a broken home. I didn't see them or was around them as much as he was with Saul all the time, every day, doing that what he said every day. He would say, "Your dad loves you," and so that got me emotional seeing that, and that's a beautiful thing, man.
Yeah,
It really is.
I've been a really, really good dad.
Hey, Nancy, you've had to raise two daughters, and your daughters are tough. You've done a good job.
Hey, all I can say is we as Jay, all of us, all the guys in our text thread, we've been blessed, man.
Yeah.
Like
Yes.
we've all had good lives.
Yeah.
I can't complain, man.
No.
It's been. I could die tonight, man. And I'd die happy.
Quit saying
man.
that. I gave you a ride here.
Well,
Quit saying that.
folks, it's been all the pressure
it's been
tonight.
great.
It's been a while. I appreciate you guys coming. Paulie, get well soon.
Yes.
My Commanders, let's go. Let's go.
Wasn't it the
Commanders. My
Bills?
Commanders. It's really my
My
Redskins.
Commanders.
My Redskins.
Yes,
the
thank
Bills
you.
back in December.
No, I got the
I
Bills
know.
in the AFC.
Okay.
Remember,
All
the
right.
last time the Redskins were in the Super Bowl, they played the Bills, and that's what's going to happen again.
All right.
Josh, thanks for having us.
Thanks, Josh. Appreciate it, brother.
God bless all of you. Good night. Let's
Yep.
go. Give us our music, Josh. Let's go.